Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me on my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite men's fragrance flankers. So these are going to be fragrances that I feel surpassed the pillar. So the first fragrance on my list is going to be Aqua di Joe Profumo. The original Aqua di Joe is a classic. It was my dad's fragrance for a really long time, and it came out in the 90s, and it's one of the first times we see the use of a material called kalone, which is this synthetic raw material that's associated with ocean breezes and an aquatic feeling, and it's a beautiful material, and they paired it here with bergamot and rosemary, so you have this seaside fresh fragrance that was so emblematic of the 90s. And as time went on, I just kind of associated it with this timeless but also kind of ho-hum men's fragrance. And then we had the Aqua di Joe update with the Profumo, and they added a lot of ambery materials, a lot of woods, a lot of cedar, so that really modernized it, but also made it a fragrance that had this grounding base to it that made it so much more alluring and exciting than just this fresh 90s fragrance. And that woodiness also added a lot of sex appeal, a lot of this your skin but better fragrance molecules like ambroxan, like isoe super, like javanol, kind of in this realm of family. And these are really the fragrance molecules that make you want to smell and get in closer. And you have a lot of these types of fragrance molecules in this flanker. So if you want the best of both worlds, this refreshingness met with this grounding woodiness, I really recommend smelling the Aqua di Joe Profumo by Giorgio Armani. The next fragrance on my list is 1 Million Elixir by Paco Rabanne. 1 Million is such an iconic fragrance, but it's also very polarizing. But there is a reason why it's a bestseller. For most people, it is a love. I really think it's the cinnamon in the original 1 Million fragrance that puts a lot of people off. I think it gives this impression of sweetness that can be kind of off-putting for some. I think it is what gives the cloying feeling for a lot of people. And it also could just be the sweetness level. It was one of the first sweeter men's fragrances on the market. And again, because it was wildly popular, I think it just put a lot of people off. I think there is something about popularity. People like to smell unique with their fragrances. What we have with 1 Million Elixir, you do have this sweetness still, but other than that, there's not so much going on. There is still the woodiness, but here you also have this apple note that gives this really clean, but also really nice fruitiness. And we also have this beautiful, luxurious rose in the heart. So you can already tell that it's a bit more of this refined version of 1 Million. It definitely smells so much more expensive than 1 Million. It smells like a more adult version of 1 Million, and it has so much addiction in this ambery base as well. So again, if you maybe wore 1 Million before, but you know, it's just gotten too popular, try the Elixir. If you even hate 1 Million, try the Elixir. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite new men's scents. It came out last year, and it's a big love for me. The next flankers are Ultramal and Le Mal Le Parfum. These are flankers of the original Le Mal, and I prefer both of these to the original Le Mal. Of course, the original Le Mal is a classic. It was kind of this reimagination of a classic fougere, but now it's a classic fougere in and of itself with this addition of the orange blossom. It's very much in line with other classics like Yop Homme. We really see two different updates to this fragrance. With Ultramal, we see the addition of pear and vanilla to that lavender fougere, which makes it so sexy, especially for a nighttime fragrance. It has great projection and longevity. I love this fragrance. And then I would say its more refined brother would be Le Mal Le Parfum. Unfortunately, I don't get the same projection from Le Mal Le Parfum, but the longevity is solid. And this is taking away the pear. It's focusing more on the lavender vanilla with some woody ambers. And so because there's not that pear, it maybe makes it A little bit less nighttime, but a little bit more refined. So it just depends on the vibe you're looking for, but I do like them both equally. This last fragrance, there's also two flankers that I love. And it's a fragrance that I never thought I could love, irregardless of flankers, and that is Sauvage. So both Sauvage Parfum and Sauvage Elixir have surprised me. The first one was Sauvage Parfum because it is different, but it definitely still has that Sauvage DNA. I'm gonna talk about the Parfum first. I was smelling a bunch of different versions of Chanel Bleu and Sauvage, you know, back to back to back to back, which does tire your nose a bit. And I was smelling one and I was like, my God, this flanker of Chanel Bleu is so good. Because I didn't think I could have such a visceral like for Sauvage. I just assumed it was a version of Chanel Bleu. Now the fragrances are quite different, but they are this kind of like fresh blue type of fragrance. And I was smelling it and I realized this is Sauvage Parfum. And that's when I realized like this is a fantastic version of Sauvage. And it has incredible longevity and projection. It has incredible likability. This is such a nice go-to fragrance and also such a nice giftable fragrance where you know it's going to appease a lot of palates. And you know, we all like getting compliments and having at least at sometimes, you know, perfumes that are going to please a lot of people. And we really see that with Sauvage Parfum. And then we have the Elixir. And what I love about the Elixir is they really upped the lavender notes and the anise notes, and you have something incredible. But that does conclude my list. I could have added so many other flankers, but I wanted to choose the ones where I vastly preferred the flanker to the original, which is why I ended on the Sauvage. Some other flankers I prefer to the original would be Dior Homme Intense and Parfum to the original Dior Homme, Chanel Bleu Eau de Parfum and Parfum in difference to the original Chanel Bleu Eau de Toilette. But with those, you know, I really liked the originals and the flankers quite a bit, where with my selection there was a bigger gap between my resonance with the fragrance. Even if I do like the flankers or the originals, I just tend to really prefer the flanker over the original. I am very curious to hear what your favorite flankers are, what you thought of the list, so please comment below and I will see you in the next video. Bye everyone.